Hey lovelies! So the new year is here, and I know for a lot of us, that means getting our eating back on track is top of mind. And this year, one of my big resolutions is actually to eat less meat. And as a result of that, I want to share more great vegetarian recipes here on the channel. And today I've got 3 absolutely delicious ones. They're quick, easy, and full of feel-good ingredients. So whether you are full-on vegetarian, or you're just looking to add some new plant-based recipes to your repertoire, there's something for everyone. Speaking of vegetarian recipes, I wanted to let you guys know that all month long, our 4-week vegetarian meal plan is available for 25% off over on healthymealplans.com. Now, these meal plans were developed by our in-house dietitian. They are nutritionally balanced and chock full of amazing vegetarian recipes for breakfast, lunch, snack, and dinner. So there's tons to love. I think the best part about our specialty meal plans is that once you purchase them, you can actually customize them to your heart's content. So for example, if you wanted to replace this Southwestern black bean salad with, say, this amazing veggie fried quinoa, you totally can by just dragging and dropping. How cool is that? Now, without further ado, let's get to some brand new vegetarian meal ideas that I think you guys are really going to love, starting with this absolutely divine Chickpea Puttanesca. Now, this is a bit of a twist on a traditional spaghetti alla puttanesca, which is a really yummy Italian-inspired pasta dish. But today, instead of pasta, I'm going to be using chickpeas, which, as we know, have a ton of protein as well as fiber. So we're going to get started with a nice big skillet on the stove. I've got some oil heating up in my skillet. And once that oil is nice and hot, I'm going to get some onion into the pan. As soon as that onion softens up after, say, 2 or 3 minutes, I've got some garlic headed in here as well as some red pepper flakes. Of course, you can skip the red pepper flakes here, but trust me, they are super yummy. We're gonna let that garlic and those red pepper flakes heat up, stirring them constantly for about 30 seconds or so until they reach their full flavor potential. And then we are going to add some tomato paste to the pan. I'll let that cook up for another 30 seconds, and then in go our diced tomatoes. I'm gonna hit that with a helping of Italian seasoning, little salt, little pepper, and give it a good mix. Then we're going to bring that mixture to a simmer. At this point, it is time to get our chickpeas into the pan. I'm using canned chickpeas that have been rinsed and drained. And then I'm going to add a ton of great Mediterranean flavor to this. So I've got some artichoke hearts. These are the kind that are marinated in oil. You can find them traditionally in the same aisle of your supermarket as the pickles and the olives. I'm going to get those into my skillet. I'm also going to be adding some Kalamata olives here. So the olives add a nice saltiness to this dish, which I love. And I'm also going to be adding some capers. Capers are pickly, tart, and tangy. They pack a serious flavor punch. At this point, I like to reduce my heat to medium-low and let this just hang out on the stove for, say, 5 to 10 minutes. That really is all it takes to bring these flavors together. At that point, I'm going to finish this off with a nice big helping of freshly chopped parsley, a good squeeze of lemon juice, and another hit of salt and pepper, and it's really as easy as that. Now, this amazing stuff is perfect served over pasta or rice, or you can eat it just as is. I actually love to spoon it over a really beautiful piece of sourdough bread. You cannot go wrong. Next, guys, I am doing a riff on one of my all-time favorite takeout dishes, fried rice. Today, we're making a yummy mushroom fried rice, and you won't believe how easy it is to do. Now, the secret to a great fried rice is actually using day-old rice. It's usually best if your rice is not freshly cooked because it's had a chance to dry out a little bit, and that makes for the best results. Just a suggestion. Now, I am starting with a nice big skillet on the stove. I'm using non-stick here because it's going to make your life a lot easier. I'm just going to get a good glug of oil in my pan, and as soon as my oil is hot, I'm going to get some mushrooms into the pan. I'm using cremini mushrooms here. White button mushrooms would definitely work. You could swap in some shiitake mushrooms if you wanted to. You've got lots of great options. The idea, though, is to cook those mushrooms until they've released a lot of their moisture, they've become nice and tender, and they've started to brown. At that point, we're gonna go ahead and add some flavor to the pan. So I'm gonna start with some onion. We'll let that cook up for maybe 1 to 2 minutes. I've got some ginger and some garlic headed into the pan. I'm going to let that heat up for about 30 seconds or so. And then what I'm going to do is use my spoon to sort of move all of my veggie ingredients over to one side of my pan, because on the other side of my pan, I'm actually going to be scrambling some eggs. Now, if you wanted to keep this recipe vegan, you could totally skip the eggs here, but of course, scrambled eggs are actually really traditional in a fried rice dish. So if you're looking for a little extra protein, go ahead and add them. Then you can just mix the scrambled eggs in with your veggies and then pile in your leftover rice. To get a little green going in this pan, I'm going to be adding some snap peas to this, but you have the option to use snow peas, broccoli, green beans, asparagus. The sky is really the limit when it comes to what kinds of greens you can add to your fried rice dish. We basically just want to cook our greens until they're nice and tender crisp. Then we are going to finish this yumminess off with a good splash of soy sauce. Soy sauce, of course, has great flavor. If you wanted to keep this gluten-free, you could swap in some tamari sauce instead. That's basically gluten-free soy sauce. It's a really good alternative. And your fried rice dish is really as simple as that. We're gonna let this heat up for maybe 2 or 3 minutes, and then it is ready to be served. I like topping it with some finely sliced green onion. And oh my gosh, not only do you have an amazing dinner option, but this makes killer seconds for lunch. Finally, guys, we are making one of my very favorite sheet pan suppers. It's a sheet pan halloumi and roasted vegetables, and it's got tons of gorgeous veggies, but it also features halloumi cheese. Now, if you're not familiar with halloumi cheese, you are in for a treat. It has the most incredible texture, and it's a really strange cheese because it doesn't melt the way typical cheeses do. It actually keeps its form, but becomes a really sort of soft and delicious when you cook it like this. It also gets a little crispy around the edges, so there's a lot to love. For my veggies here, I'm using a bit of a Mediterranean mixture. So I've got some zucchini headed onto my sheet pan with some cherry tomatoes that I've cut in half, little bell pepper, as well as some red onion headed on here. And then of course, my nice big chunks of halloumi cheese. I'm going to top this all with a good helping of olive oil. That's going to prevent it from sticking and help it get nice and tender. And I'm also going to be hitting this with some Greek seasoning. Now, I will admit I'm using the store-bought kind today, but I have an amazing homemade Greek seasoning that I often use in the kitchen. And if you're looking for that recipe, I will link it in the description box below. We'll wrap this up with a little salt and a little pepper, and then we're just going to use our hands to give this all a good mix and make sure that all of our veggies are coated in that Greek seasoning, that salt, that pepper, that olive oil. Then this yumminess can head into the oven at 400 degrees Fahrenheit for say 25 to 35 minutes. What you're looking for your veggies to be nice and soft and that halloumi to be nice and golden around the edges. That means it is ready to be devoured. Now I will mention that halloumi is best enjoyed straight out of the oven, so you want to eat this when it's nice and hot. Now of course you could eat this mixture all on its own, or you could serve it up with some rice, some potatoes, or even load it onto a pita with a little bit of tzatziki sauce. That would be super amazing as well. Guys, I really hope you will give all 3 of these yummy vegetarian recipes a try, and if you do, be sure to tweet me, Instagram me, or Facebook me a photo, because you know how much I love seeing your kitchen creations. Remember that our 4-week vegetarian meal plan is on for 25% off all month long over on healthymealplans.com, and you can also go there to find all of today's delicious recipes. They're linked in the description box below. And finally, if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe because there is lots more deliciousness where this came from.